So today, I wanted to do something a little different. Just talk. I just want to talk. Today, I want to talk about the moment where I felt most vulnerable, I guess you can say, and it just really catapulted me into looking into a solution for my hair loss. Let's begin with my line of work. I work in an office area setting, right? And it took me about 4 years of hard work to make my way up to supervisor, not management, but supervisor, right? I had my own team. I ran about 30 people, a day shift, night shift, and an overnight shift. I was the guy. I was in charge. I had respect. I had people who looked to me with questions. I had the answers most of the time, and if I didn't have the answers, I would seek out the answer. I did the best to my ability to fulfill that role, and I was very proud of that role. With that, I felt like I positioned myself in a secure spot, right? I was the guy. And even though I was the guy of my team, it was a subdivision of my department, right? Like there was the main department, and there was two sections to this. I basically ran that one section, and my team provided work for that second section. It was my job to make sure that the other section, the much larger section, had work on a daily basis. That was my responsibility. And with me being the big guy on this side of the office, we had a couple stragglers over from this team. The larger team, they would come, they would mingle, they'd talk with friends, whatnot, and I was fine, that's whatever, it's no big deal. At this point in time, I'm in my mid-30s, and this kid, in the early 20s, maybe 21, 22, very fresh, very young, very naive, very... He's one of those, He's not a bad kid, alright? But he runs his mouth, he does not keep himself in check, he just talks. Whatever comes out of his mouth, it comes out of his mouth, he just talked. He's good in short bursts, but like if I sat next to him or something, he would drive me insane. Yeah, he's one of those. But the kid, he's not a bad kid. But one day he comes over and we're talking about something. I think we were talking about a movie. Actually, I think it was Venom. The Venom movie, you guys know that one? Okay, so at the time, the first Venom movie had just ended, and there was a scene for the next one, the sequel, with Woody Allen, and he had this horrible wig on. But we were talking, me and this kid, and basically I was saying like, oh yeah, they released this. It's a new trailer for part 2. And he's like, really? What is it? And then I find it on YouTube and I show it to him. He's like, dude, this came out at the end of the first one. I'm like, oh really? Whoops, my bad. And he just kind of got mad because he thought that there was information on the sequel, and he started talking trash. And I'm sitting down, he's standing up, and he's like, oh, your age is getting to you, old guy, you geezer. Look at that bald spot on your head, yada, yada, yada. And I'm surrounded by my team, and this kid's going off on me, and I'm like, this little a-hole, how, the nerve that this kid had, the balls that he had to be talking trash to me like that. I was like, okay, screw you. Because really, it's very tough to get under my skin. Just the kind of person that I am. And that not necessarily didn't put me over. That wasn't like a one-time thing, right? This is like the story that broke the camel's back, right? Many different other stories just came together, and this was the final straw that kind of just set me off, right? So we're there, and I'm looking around like, this kid, right? How dare he? How dare he, right? Like, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, kid, just wait till you get to my age. By that point, like, I knew that my hair was thinning. I knew that my hair wasn't as thick as it used to be. And my hair used to be thick. Like, it was long. I had long, beautiful hair, like hair down to my shoulders. I do ponytails. I do that weird Chris Jericho thing where he puts the chongo on top. I was always the guy with the hair. Like, even though I wore hats back then, I had the hair just coming down. I wasn't very fashionable, okay? But I had the hair. It was beautiful. And yeah, for this kid just to be talking to me like that, I'm like, oh, this kid pointing out my bald spot, like, to my team, you a-hole, Jesus. It wasn't a very cool thing, I felt like, and he kind of embarrassed me a little bit in front of everyone, just to be like, oh, bald spot, ha ha ha. And yeah, I didn't really acknowledge, or I didn't want to accept the fact that it was as bad as it was. And that moment right there was like, oh, it's more noticeable than I thought. Maybe I should do something about it. I'm not holding anything against the kid. I'm not, he was kind of a jerk move. Screw him. But regardless, he kind of brought to my attention that it is more noticeable than I thought. It was bad. Looking back now, I would comb and then you could just see my scalp in the lighting, and it was not good. At this point, this is where I decided, where I was at the crossroads, and I said to myself, okay, I'm going to shave it off, or I'm going to do something about it. that was the moment. That was it for me. That was the last one. So I debated for a little bit. I talked to my friend who has been bald for the last 20 years, and it's not so bad. Being bald is not really a bad thing. It's not, but it's not for me. I think I would look horrible bald. I have been accustomed to having hair for my entire life. Hair that was down to my shoulders. The thought of having no hair up there was just not an option for me. It was more or less going to be like, let's screw it, let's just do it. But I spoke to my wife about it, because even though I don't let a lot of things get under my skin, I do value her opinion, because, well, she's my wife. She's the one who's going to be seeing this all day, every day. And so her opinion matters to me. And she jokingly said that if I shaved my head, she will leave me. But of course, she would never do that. She loves me because I'm sexy, right? I'm.
That was not a lie. I was gonna leave you.
So, wow, okay. So she was gonna leave me, and that's just not gonna. Wow, that was not gonna happen. That I have to keep the wife happy, right? Happy wife, happy life. But being bald was just not something that she wanted to see on me. It wasn't something that I necessarily wanted. So my only option was, I have to find a way to regrow my hair. And that is what drove me to find my solution. I tried minoxidil, I tried finasteride, and I was not happy with the side effects. There was just too many things going on. First of all, my scalp was getting itchy. It was getting irritated. It stung. I'm not exaggerating, but all the chemicals in there is just not for me. I felt like my hair was shedding more than it was supposed to be. And the actual side effects to it, like ED, it lowers your libido, no sex drive. And I'm still relatively young. I like that, okay? So that was not going to be a thing for me. It was not an option. I had enough issues with the way that my head looked. I didn't want any additional issues. So ED, no, did not want it. I used minoxidil and finasteride for a good half a year, more or less, and I stopped. I was seeing issues. I was having problems. My scalp was it never got used to it, right? Like the irritation, like it never stopped. And by the way, this minoxidil that I was using, it is the 5%. 5%, so it's a little bit stronger than the usual 2%, right? Did I see any hair growth? Honestly, for me, nothing noticeable. To be fair, it was on and off for the 6 months because I just kept feeling that irritation, but I was trying to keep up with it, and it was not noticeable for me personally. I never saw a real change, and therefore I decided that it was not for me. So what are the other solutions? The other solutions were a hair transplant. Those are expensive. They work. From the research that I did and the articles that I read, it appears to be an option. It is something that could definitely work. However, it's expensive. It's very expensive, and I'm your everyday dude, really. I don't have buckets of money. I'm not swimming in bins of gold coins. A hair transplant just was not in the cards for me. So my options were look for something natural. Look for natural ingredients. Look for what is the cause of hair loss and start there. And that's where my research began, which is kind of my specialty, researching. It's what I do. I love doing that sort of thing. It's kind of my job as well. So it just fits. I'm just really good at researching. And I find the information, and what I found was basically what I do in my videos, right? Like every other video, I talk about DHT, the testosterone that becomes a DHT. I talk about female and male pattern baldness. I talk about all these things that I find and all these things that I learn about. I find the information and I try to pass it along. Teaching is also just something that I've always been good at, right? Like I've just been a natural teacher. One way or another, I can't explain it. It's just something that I'm good at. And I wanted to give out this information because honestly, online, there's a ton of misinformation. There's videos that say, oh, you have hair loss, it's zinc. Zinc is the problem. Oh, biotin, take biotin. It's not as simple as that. Everyone is different. Everyone's body is different. Everyone's head is different. Everyone's hair is different. And so there's different problems. There's different solutions. But the one constant solution that I found was natural hair growth oils. For me, the oil, it just made sense. There was no irritation. There was no side effects aside from allergies. You always want to do your patch test, but skin irritation. There are a lot of ingredients out there. Most of them are safe for most people, but you still want to do your patch test. Rosemary was always something that was on my list. That's what I started with, rosemary. I started rubbing that in, and eventually that started to be irritating. And I realized I can't just use rosemary. I have to pair it with something to offset the irritation. I started playing with ingredients, making my own mix, my own blend. I purchased this oil, I purchased that oil, and testing the waters, trial and error. It really came down to trial and error. And eventually, a couple years down the line, I found my solution. I found what worked, and it was honestly the main growth Elixir, a powerhouse blend, is just that amazing. I'm not even kidding with you. This puppy right here, it has 40 plus natural ingredients, and this honestly saved my hairline. This right here, of course, it didn't look like this back then. It was just a simple little bottle with my oil in it, and I would apply it every day. I'd blend it in, mix it in. I started seeing results, like real results. I was seeing less of my scalp. I was seeing the hairs come in. I was seeing thickness again. And the reason for that is, well, just the ingredients that's in there. It's DHT blocking ingredients like palmetto, pumpkin seed oil, and then we have the ingredients that help grow the hair. It helps nourish the scalp. It helps circulation of the blood flow, and it's just a perfect blend, a perfect concoction. Everything just it just works. It blends together. It's just perfect blend. It's a perfect concoction, and I honestly can say that if you're having thinning issues with your head, that this is your best chance at growing your hair with natural ingredients, natural powerful ingredients. This bad boy right here, the main growth elixir, is for you. And it worked for me. It worked for my mother-in-law who was losing hair on her temples. It worked for my friend who was a day one tester. He was seeing thinning as well, and I talked to him like, hey man, will you test this out for me? And he did, and he's very happy with the results. And honestly, I'm still working on mine. It's miles ahead of what it used to be, but it just is so much better, looks so much thicker. I'm still playing with ingredients actually. The oil itself, the main growth elixir, is absolutely perfect, but I'm working on other stuff now. I'm working on a shampoo and a conditioner. I'm working on supplements. I'm working on all these different things. That's just going to culminate the final solution, and it's going to be amazing. And I want you to join me on this journey. Join me on your hair growth journey. Show me pictures. So post them on our social media. Post your pictures. Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Like, this is me just being open with you, like everybody, all men, a lot of men and women go through this. Your hair starts falling out, and yeah, you feel vulnerable. You feel like, yeah, oh geez, give me a minute. Losing your hair sucks. It is not a good feeling. It makes you feel less. It made me feel less. It made me feel vulnerable. It made me feel like not myself. So if that's you, you're feeling the way I did, I'm telling you, main growth elixir, give it a shot, give it a try. It might just get you your confidence back the way that it did for me. I've tried a whole bunch of other things on the market and they just wouldn't do, but this right here, the main growth elixir, this is what you want, this is what you need. Click on the link below, get your bottle today. I want you to grow your hair back. I want you to get your confidence back. I want you to experience the main growth elixir. Now, if you like this video, give me a like, give me a subscribe, follow, make sure that you watch this video next for more hair growth tips, tricks, and everything in between. And let's unleash your main potential together.